Homeward LA is a 10-day citywide theatrical event, and the productions are all based on stories from folks who have been homeless. And all the proceeds go to the Midnight Mission, a nonprofit on Skid Row. Well, we're very happy to be joined in studio to hear all about it from two of those folks involved in creating these stories, actor-writer Rebecca Delgado Smith and Evelyn Nelson, whose story is being told. Welcome both to Feminist Magazine.
Hi, thank you so much for having us here.
Yes, thank you. Hi, glad to be here.
Well, we'll start with Rebecca. Homeward LA sounds like such an incredible event. They're currently staging 50 new stories in productions across LA. So can you give our listeners just a little overview of what it's about?
Sure. So these productions have about 10 to 12 monologues or pieces, and every production has a different set of performers. So it'll be the same monologues being performed by different performers and directed by different directors. So it kind of gives you a flavor. You know, all of the stories are being told, yet a different flavor. Everyone has different interpretations.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's really cool.
Yeah. It's been a fantastic experience. Just last night, I went to see the production at the Boston Court in Pasadena, and I know that they have another performance tonight. But it was just very heartfelt and inspiring to see the work being told by a totally different group of actors than I had seen before.
Amazing. And how did the two of you come to work together?
Well, we were paired up on the first day that the head of Homeward LA, Jason, he had all of the writers and the storytellers come together and just kind of get to know each other and talk a little bit about our stories. And from the second Evelyn walked into the room, she just looked straight at me, and we just started laughing. And I think you said, "Hey, I heard you're Puerto Rican." I'm half Puerto Rican too.
Oh wow, we're on theme today.
Yes.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah.
It was love at first sight, friendship at first sight.
Oh, that's fantastic. And so, what was the process then for you, Evelyn? Is it like you're doing the storytelling and then you're working with the writer who's turning this into a monologue?
Right. Rebecca and I would get together. We usually would meet at Starbucks. Oh, yeah. That famous place.
Yeah, that famous place. Okay. We'll just call it Anonymous Coffee Shop. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And she would just ask me questions about what I went through.
Right.
And she picked out that particular part of the story of my life that she wanted to focus on.
Okay. And that's, would you mind sharing with our listeners just a little bit of what part of that story is that she focused on?
Yeah. What it was about is called, it was basically about my poppy and how my life was able to change him around. He was a kingpin, and he did drug trafficking for 30 years. And I wrote a song about him, and that basically changed his life. It was just cold turkey.
Wow.
And, I'd been raised in a foster home, and so I didn't get to know him except for the last, it was like 9 years. So, and then at my mother's funeral, I remembered my biological mom's name was tattooed on his arm. Oh. And I didn't get to know her, but the gist of the story is that his life was changed because of the love of God that was in my life.
And a piece of music that you wrote.
Right.
Wow, amazing. And then you yourself had actually lived at the Midnight Mission and been part of that community, so it was very meaningful for you.
Definitely.
Yeah. And what years were those?
That was I was there in 2017 and 18 in the Midnight Mission.
And that was when you had moved to LA from somewhere else?
Yes, I had moved from Florida. I'm originally from Rochester, New York.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And so being in Midnight Mission was quite an eye-opener. And it was good to know that there are shelters out there that you can turn to.
Exactly. For like times in your life when you need that safety net, right?
Definitely.
And I know we're on radio, but my hand is making little safety net gestures. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And how was the process for you then, Rebecca? Had you done something like this before?
I had performed in storytelling shows and had, I was able to do that. But this process with Evelyn was totally new to me.
Right.
I felt a lot of not stress, but responsibility in telling her, helping her tell her story. We picked this particular story and piece because I felt like it really brought out how positive and inspiring she is as a person. And even though it was a very tragic part of her life, it still mixed in all of her positivity and inspiration.
Exactly. And also her music.
Yeah,
Right.
And her faith, really.
Oh, yeah.
Evelyn's faith is very important to her, and we really wanted to bring that out in this piece. In this piece, she's talking to her dad, and she's asking him, there's a big confrontation she finally has with him, and she tells her dad, I think it's time you came back to the kingdom of God, and it's almost like he has this moment of it was like a possession, or Evelyn. I mean, you were there.
Yeah, yeah. It was,
but
the darkness, the sense of darkness, just overcame.
Yes, and after that, he was just a completely changed man. Wow. So it was a big moment in her life that we wanted to tell. And unfortunately, he was murdered soon afterward. It was a very difficult time, but out of struggle comes hope and faith and healing.
Yeah.
And Lynn is a true testament to that.
Exactly. And I think let's talk a little bit about why it matters that these stories are brought to life on stage. What do you think, what do you feel from having now watched a couple of performances? What is being brought to the audience? I'd like to ask both of you that.
I think a sense of humanity, seeing these characters up on stage and seeing them walk and talk and tell these stories really brings you closer to what they've struggled.
Right.
And that is really important for the community to really understand that, everyone is just a person who's had, different story and a different life, and that's really important to remember.
And that's kind of individualizing rather than saying, here's this like mass of people who are a category, and there's kind of this separation. But what you do you feel it's like individualizing in the stories, Lynn?
Yes, it is, because out of all of this, I've been to 3 of the plays, and this young lady came up to me and she was like, wow, where do you get the faith to keep going? How did you communicate with God? And to me, that was very special. One-on-one, I think, is very important because it can touch a life one at a time.
Yeah.
And I think that's, very important because that's what it takes, is one life at a time.
Exactly, yeah. And let's talk a little bit also about like some statistics. As of 2016, and those were the most recent numbers I found, 1 in 3 homeless people in LA County are women.
Wow.
And so and that's a huge increase. Basically, the numbers have been going up more and more statistically. So do you feel that is represented in all of these stories that are part of this play series?
Yes, I'm trying to remember how many of the monologues are women. I want to say it's almost 50-50. Mm-hmm. I think that's about right.
Wow.
So I think it is being represented in this event, in this theatrical event.
Yeah.
Lynn?
Yeah, I thought there was a little bit more more women than men.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good to hear.
Yeah.
Telling the stories.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. So this is a benefit event, and it's going on for 10 days in all these different theaters and with all these actors and directors volunteering their time, your time. So then we need to tell our listeners about like where to go and how to get tickets and all of this good stuff. When are you performing, and when is the next performance that folks should know about?
Well, I'll actually be performing Lynn's piece at the LA LGBT Center. That's on May 2nd and 5th. I think there's still some tickets left for the May 2nd show, and I'm very excited to do that. But there are a lot of performances still happening until May 5th. And they can go to homewardla.org. There will be a list of all of the shows, and they can purchase tickets there. And that should be a good reference.
Right, and they can get all the info there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Lynn, Midnight Mission is a nonprofit on Skid Row, right? Providing shelter, food, education. Anything else you think our listeners should know about Midnight Mission?
Well, I found that Midnight Mission is a caring place, and they do, help you and support you. They'll get you a caseworker.
Right.
Yeah, and they'll make sure they do help out with, housing. So, yeah.
Oh, and you also joined a choir there.
Yes, I did. Urban Voices Project.
All right. Tell us about that.
Okay, that is a community for musicians, singers, that want to come together in this community, and they have events that we go to make awareness, to show that we can share music and affect the environment, and one of the special ones is like the mayor every year opens his home just to Urban Voices projects because of how they represent homelessness.
Right.
And they have private teachers there, instructors. If you want to learn more about producing music, maybe you want to work on vocals, So we had a great time Saturday night. We sang in between the stories that was told, from Homeward, LA. So that was really powerful. That was a lot of fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So it all connects.
Yes.
And it's all part of this, like, kind of raising awareness and shifting consciousness, would you say?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Kind of opening folks' hearts, basically.
Yes, there's a lightness to it.
Yeah. We like to hear about, we have like serious policy interviews, and then we're going to talk about the joy of storytelling and music and how that can turn things around. Absolutely. Well, we've been talking to two folks who are here from Homeward LA, and Rebecca and Evelyn are telling us about the performances. It's an entire 10-day of performances, and it's going on all around the city, but you can go to, what is the website?
Homewardla.org.
Homewardla.org. And we're talking to Rebecca Delgado Smith and Evelyn or Lynn Nelson. And we're really grateful that you came into the studio today to tell us all about it. And we also have that link on our website, which is feministmagazine.org. And here's to more storytelling.
Yeah. Right on. Thank you.
Thank you.